It's interesting as I've just been kind of like reading other people's reviews and stuff and getting, absorbing as many sort of takes as I can of what people are saying and feeling when it comes to this game. And a lot of people are like, were super, super bummed out about the embargo. Like they're super bummed out
It's the
about
biggest criticism about the game.
It's one of the biggest bummer embargoes I've ever seen.
Yeah,
Really?
and look, like I don't know. I guess they just have to do this so that nobody just straight up like Wikipedia's the plot and it's just like there you go. But I also think the narrative is really wrapped around how the game like tells the story and the way the game plays, if that makes sense, with time and everything is kind of wrapped up together, and it's weird. So I do understand why you have to just say, hey, let's not chance anything and just be as restricted as possible. I still think you can convey whether or not this is a good video game without, uh, elucidating every plot point of that entire game. So I don't think it's, yes, is something lost from a general sort of critique of a game if you have that kind of restrictive embargo? Yeah, sure, of course. But I don't think you are unable to like process the thing, if that makes sense.
Yeah. No, I get what you're saying. I think the embargo stuff is, for a narrative heavy game that people are very invested in the story. It's hard for me without playing it. You would know better than anyone here. Were they being overly cautious? Were they not? And also, given that the whole thing leaked, or a lot of it leaked, already early on, does that make them more defensive, or should that not make them more defensive?
I have a question. Okay.
Go for it.
Who's upset about the embargo? The reviewers or the audience?
I've just read a lot.
I have not seen.
Yeah, it seems like everyone for the most part, but I have actually read reviews that were like, I mean, look, in my video review, I was like, I can't show you that much because I'm just not allowed to. Like,
but can you tell if you think the story is good or not? Like, isn't that more relevant?
Yeah, and I think I was able to do that. I was able to do that. So,
I haven't watched it. I'm sorry.
Wow, pat on the back, Jeff. Wow. Good job.
That's a nice friend move right there.
If I may briefly put my PR hat on for a second,
okay.
I still have it from. Let me just blow the
dust it off.
Shake
that off.
Yes.
Okay, all right. It's a little beanie cap with a propeller on it.
What songs are coming to Rock Band? Yes.
If I were designing this embargo, and no one would ever let me do that, to be first off.
If I were designing this embargo.
If I were building this embargo and I really wanted to keep people from like leaking details or throwing any of this shit out there, I understand why they did it this way. You want as much coverage as you possibly can. You want to stagger the stuff out so that it is in the conversation for weeks leading up to it, as opposed to just getting it all out there. But if you really care this much about fucking spoilers, if you really care this much about trying to keep people from seeing stuff they're not supposed to, just put it all on one day, the day before, specify what they can't show, hit a target point that people can't show, and that's it. Anyone who is seeking out video of this game pre-release, I would like to think, understands that they will see something from the story. They will see some element of the game that takes place from the story. You can set a cutoff. You can say, okay, these are the things I don't want to show. The specificity of this one and like the weird, like you can only show this middle chunk, but these specific parts and whatnot. It's just, all you're doing is making anyone who wants to cover your game's lives miserable when you do this.
Yeah.
And I understand, like, this is like extremely minor issue in the grand scheme of everything going on in the world. I'm just saying, for my part, I feel like we overcomplicate this stuff when we talk about these big AAA games, these story games, that we're like, we are trying to protect them from anyone possibly knowing what could or might have happened in them. And I know they had story leaks and stuff, but it's just like, come on, like, trust your audience a little bit to be like, if they're looking for video of this game, they know what they are getting themselves into.
Yeah.
Fair enough. I think, the embargo talk, that's some intense. That's probably the most embargo talk I've ever had in the whole segment on embargo for a game.
It's the most embargo I have ever seen on a video game.
So embargo. It's so embargo.
Well, so just to clarify for people who are listening who don't know, because this is kind of a very inside baseball thing. It is detailed in a way that makes it complicated to know what you can talk about and can't.
Like when I was working with my producer Nick, like on the video footage, it was just about like the amount of overlogging that you would sort of do, do as opposed to what you normally do with time code and stuff. Look, I get it. It took them a very long time to make this game. I understand there's a lot invested in that emotionally, not just man hours and time and money. It's a lot. I get it.
It's going to be weird when people find out that at the end of this game, it just melts your PS4 starts crying and it breaks.
It takes off.
It's a jet engine and leaves, and that's why nobody can talk about it. Your controller
and it's
just
like
weeps, and then
that's
and
the
then
end of the generation. Here you go.
That's right. Get ready for the PS5, folks.
Like blast radius. Yeah.
Actually, it's just the end of it is just someone reading the embargo. That's why everybody's talking about it. It's just somebody in front of a camera tearing up the embargo. It's very sad.